Hello, everyone, and welcome to the newest episode of Adam's TV Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Samuel, and this episode we're going to be breaking down week 3 of American Idol, which includes the final episode of auditions and the start of Hollywood Week, which is big. We finally made it to Hollywood Week. Today, I'm joined by my co-host, the awesome Eric Ascher. Eric, how you doing?
Doing well. Excited for this week. Couple of great acts this week. Not a ton, but enough to get me excited.
There's a lot to go through. I just wanted to ask, how did you feel about the length of these episodes? Were you, because for me, I felt that at times I started to feel the length of the episodes. Did you feel that way?
Well, I watched clips on YouTube for most of it, so I didn't really notice the length. But
you don't keep up with like the backstories, or you just read about them?
Well, the backstory is for the contestants that I care about that I like. I'll watch, but I don't watch everybody's.
Okay, so welcome. I just want to say to everyone joining us, if you are interested in sending us questions, you can tweet them to me using the hashtag AdamsTVPodcast. And any final thoughts you want to share before we jump into the episode?
Other than the fact that I'm hearing the buzzing right now. Nope.
There's a buzzing sound?
Now it's gone.
It's gone?
Anywho, let's see.
Okay. Do you want to?
Okay, so first up, Gabby Barrett.
So, yeah, Gabby is our first contestant of the night. She is 17 years old. She's from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She sings Gone Girl by Carrie Underwood. And she has this whole story about her being very close to their father. He's a maintenance man. She seems like she's been a big fan of American Idol. And what did you think about her?
Carrie Underwood, the first free song choice she offered up.
Yeah.
Here's my thing about her. She has boatloads of personality, but so do all of the other girls we've seen this season. And because all of the girls have personality, it's not enough just to have personality. She had to pick better songs. The first song choice sucked. The second song choice sucked. The third song choice sucked for her. But I'm glad the judges stopped her and eventually made it better. I didn't think the second song she actually sang was that much better than the first. So I'm lukewarm on her right now.
There was a lot just in the pre-season hype. There was a lot of talk about this girl. She was kind of built up. There was actually some stories I was reading about her being offered a spot on the show. Did you hear anything about this?
I did not, but that's because I didn't spoil myself until episode 1 aired. So
this isn't spoilers. This is just
I know, but I didn't even know who any of the contestants were until the first episode aired.
Yeah, there was a whole story about her possibly appearing on The Voice. I don't have all these
I don't get
details
it.
correctly.
Based on that audition, I don't get the hype.
So yeah, from my thoughts, I thought she was okay, not the best. I mean, you'll see this is kind of a running trend for me this episode. A lot of contestants, they're good, they're not bad, and she's basically a prime example. Would you have said a yes, Eric?
Nope, honestly.
You would have said no?
Well, depends on what my standard is. My standard is someone who could actually go far and possibly improve enough to actually have a shot. I'd say no. Someone to actually fill up the places on the top 24, maybe I'd say yes. Who knows? Do
you think she's fodder?
Yes.
Do you see a chance for her to break out of it? Like if she's on The Voice and she chooses she chooses you to be her coach, what would your advice be for working with this girl?
Pick better songs.
Like what songs? What do you think she should stick to country?
Don't put me on the spots. I'm like Britney Spears. I can't name actual songs.
Okay.
If anyone gets a reference, kudos.
I would have given her a yes. I see potential. I don't think this was the best showing of what she can do, but that's irrelevant.
You should pick something more urban.
More urban? I feel like they were kind of trying to sell her as the Jax contestant of the season. Like she's got the blonde hair. She's kind of a versatile artist, but I wasn't getting that. There's a lot of hype for her as being this chosen one. And I just don't see it. But irrelevant. She gets 3 yeses. She's moving on, which brings us to our next contestant, Caitlin Lucia. She is 22 years old from Orange County, California. She performs I Kissed a Girl by Katy Perry. and she has this backstory. She loves Katy Perry. She's doing a different kind of take on the song. She actually plays percussion with her foot. And what do you think about it?
I think it's good. I don't think it's stellar. I think my thing was the performance seemed effortless, but actually for it's a rare occasion where I don't think effortless. I don't say effortless in a good way. I think if she pushed herself harder, I think it could have been better. I think she had potential, but I didn't see it really. I didn't see a ton of it.
I was a fan. I'm always a fan of when contestants try to be original. I love when they decide to do something different. So I give her points for that, but the execution wasn't the best. I would say it was a BB minus kind of performance, but on a curve, I would give it a bump it up to a B plus because at least she's trying to do something different. And
even on a curve, I think the later auditions in this episode were way better. So
I mean, yeah, that's definitely true, but I mean, just to pay her dues, I think she definitely deserves her spot to move on, right?
Yes, I would agree with that.
And she does indeed move on. She gets 3 yeses, and she's going right through to the to Hollywood Week, which we'll actually be touching more on some of these contestants later on in the show when we get to that. Anyway, afterwards, we transition. We're going back to New Orleans. Were we in New Orleans before? I think this is...
I didn't pay attention to this.
Yeah,
they just jump around all over the place. It doesn't matter.
We do a lot of jumping around on American Idol. So it basically leads us into this whole segment about people who love Elvis. They do all these... some singers come in and they do Elvis songs, and it basically leads into the next contestant, who is Drake Milligan. He's 19 years old from Fort Worth, Texas, and he does You Look So Good by George Strait. He is just like all the other contestants that came before. He says he's a huge Elvis fan, and he actually is an impersonator of Elvis, and he won a few competitions because of it. What did you think about Drake?
He's another deep voice country singer. Not my thing.
Which is weird because they were pimping him out as being someone who's very Elvis related. I expected him to totally do something completely different.
Yeah, but again, just not my thing. I'm not going to comment on the deep voice country singers because I didn't like Scotty, for example, and everyone else likes Scotty. I'm like, I didn't get it, so not my thing.
I feel like there's always a block on American Idol that I never really get into. It's always the country singers, and there's always one or two, and I feel like he is going to be fighting for that country spot, and I feel there are a few better country singers who are going to overshadow him.
I can't judge country singers like that. I mean, this kind of country singer I can't judge. I mean, there's 2 different kinds of country singers. There's country singers like Trent Harmon who can actually sing with range and have
versatile,
more versatile, and then there's the country singers who have a low voice and can only sing country songs.
That's exactly my thought. I feel like he doesn't fit into the versatile that much. I mean, maybe this is just one performance, so we don't really have much to judge. I feel like the auditions are the contestants are still in their role that the producers are trying to push them in. So it's not that fair to judge just that much on, this guy was clearly sold on being an Elvis story and him switching over to country. So I feel like we don't really get the best feel of who he really is because we're getting this watered down, edited version of what the producers want him to be. Do you agree?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, anyway, he gets 3 yeses. He is going right on through. So it leads us into the next segment, which is a montage. It's Katy Perry talking about how she loves snacks. I love snacks too, so I don't really know what to make of this, but it happened. It was a cute little segment. What did you think? Did you see it?
I did not. I fast forwarded.
Well, in case you were wondering, people watching, Katy Perry really likes snacks. She's one of us. She's a normal person. She's a human. She's not a robot.
Stars, they're just like us.
They're just like us. Anyway, moving past it, we get to our next contestant. His name is Mylon Shamble, 24 years old from Bradenton, Florida. He performed Stand By Me. What'd you think?
Okay, so here's my story about this song at an audition. 2 years ago on X Factor UK, I bring it up all the time, but the winner of X Factor 2 years ago sang this song at his audition, and he nailed it. It was a standout audition. I called right from the song that he was going to win the whole show, and then 3 months later he won.
Who was this?
Matt Terry is his name. Watch
Okay.
Google the audition if you want. So for some reason, I didn't like the way Mylan phrased the song. I liked it. I wasn't sure I loved the way she phrased it, if that makes any sense.
Okay. That's fair. I feel like this song isn't like an audition kind of song. I mean, maybe
Usually
it is,
not.
but like
Usually
it's very one note. It's kind of got the medley. It doesn't really go that many places. It doesn't give you a lot of moments to like stand out.
Unless you change it up and make it stand out like Matt did.
But Mylan didn't. I called her a he
Mylan
before. I'm sorry. It's a she. She is. I wasn't feeling it as much. I feel like Randy Jackson right now in those commercials. But the less said about Randy Jackson, the better.
And those commercials by extension. But yes, Randy Jackson. Yeah. Thank you, Geico, by the way, for reminding us all about him.
Because we need some more Randy Jackson talking about dogs.
Side note, I actually listened to Randy Jackson's podcast because Nick Fradiani was on it.
Together?
That's an hour of my life we'll never get back.
What did she talk about?
What did Nick talk about?
No, Randy.
Randy just said the same thing over and over and over again. It was painful.
About cats?
Moving on. I'm done. I'm done bashing Randy. I feel like Slezak. Okay, moving on.
All right. We move on to our next contestant. Her name is Lee Vossi. She's 20 years old from Fayetteville, North Carolina. She does "Love Should Have Brought You Home" by Toni Braxton, and she has this backstory. She loves Lionel Richie. What'd you think of the performance? I was actually kind of digging her a little bit. I thought she was pretty good.
She's likable. I like the beginning of it. By the end, she was all over the place by the end. And because she lost control, I'm not sure she deserved to go through.
She seems like a very friendly person. Like, we'll get into her.
Basically, everyone has made it fearless and likable so far.
That is true. There hasn't been that many, like, unlikable contestants. Everyone's kind of very friendly.
I feel like the things I'm always writing in all of my notes is like, she's likable, but, and yeah.
So anyway, she gets through 3 S's. Any final thoughts about her?
No.
I mean, that's the kind of thing with this show recently. I feel like there's just not that much to say about contestants. They're easy.
For most of the fodder ones, I would agree, but there are a couple that I actually have things to say about, and we'll get to them later on.
We'll get to them more. Lee Vossi, I feel like, honestly, she's fodder. I mean, she's
totally fodder.
She's just kind of there to go home for the better contestants to stick around. So now we're going back to Los Angeles, and we have a montage of joke auditions because American Idol is done with joke auditions. We're never doing them except when we do them.
God damn it. Why couldn't they actually make that change? What they said they were going to.
It's never going to happen.
I know it's not because they never learn, but whatever. At this point, I just put up with it. It's like I put up with the joke acts on X Factor. I know they're terrible, but I always put up with them.
Well, anyway.
You know what? Honestly, the one thing I'll say about Idol is they haven't let a joke audition go all the way through. They never do that. X Factor does that. It does that for one person a year. And it drives me insane.
Who are some of the... Because I watched the X Factor. Who are some of the...
In the US, they never did it. In the UK, they always did it.
Oh, because I was thinking, like, who from the X Factor was, like, a joke contestant?
Well, CC Fry, season 2, kind of, sort of. But.
Fun fact, I was actually watching a lot of her old videos. How did she get to top 6? Like, I remember, like, being a huge fan of hers.
You liked her?
I was a huge... It was one of those years where I'm in the mood where I'm just going to kind of support, like, the
oddball.
The oddball. And I'm like, even though she was just awful, I was, like, really pulling for her.
She was painful. But, yeah, she made it to the top 6 because that season of X Factor was just the worst season of X Factor I've ever seen.
I remember rooting for her so hard that season. Like, it was one of my first... Genuinely, it was the first season I watched.
That was the season of X Factor where every single thing that could go wrong went totally wrong. The judging panel was wrong. The host was wrong. The ranking order of the contestants was wrong. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. And if people who only see that season of X Factor, I can understand why they would hate the show.
It's funny. I actually love that season. Like it was a train wreck, but
Good for you.
I was
It was
so into
absolutely
it.
a train wreck, and I don't think it was an entertaining one.
I mean, we got Fifth Harmony. Well,
Next.
anyway, moving on. Enough X Factor. We get our next contestant. It's Michael J. Woodward. He's 20 years old from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He does "Make It Rain" by Ed Sheeran, and he's actually this isn't the first time he's been on one of these shows. He was on a more obscure show many years ago, which I actually had no idea about, and I actually read about. I think it was called Majors and Minors, and he actually won.
I never knew that.
It was a singing competition. I think it was for kids, honestly. He was like...
Sounds like it was. Sounds like it would be.
I think he was like 10 or something. I don't remember. And he actually ended up winning, which is insane. But here he is. He's doing Ed Sheeran, and I thought it was pretty good. What did you think?
I like him a lot. I feel like once he calmed down from the beginning, he shone. And I really did like that he did a cappella. I know like we talked last week about how like everything used to be a cappella and now not everything is. But the fact that he chose to do it a cappella, I think, was smart, and he can go far.
You're totally right about the a cappella aspect. I feel it feels more like genuine Idol. Like everyone coming in with guitars or playing on piano, it doesn't feel like the audition round. And it kind of, for the first time in this episode, it kind of felt like we were back in the traditional Idol.
I would agree.
And so yeah, I love that about it. So he gets through, and I mean, good for him. He seems like a pretty cool person. I feel like he has a lot of potential, though. I mean, to have won,
he could go very far.
We'll come back to him. We'll talk about him maybe a little later. We get our next contestant, whose name is Brielle Rathbun, 18 years old from Johnson City, Tennessee, and she's performing one of my all-time favorite songs. It's "Gravity" by Sarah Bareilles. What did you think about her?
I fast-forwarded for the BS Judge shenanigans, first of all, as I always do. I like her voice a lot. I wasn't extremely enthusiastic about it, and I can't say why.
I mean, I feel like I'll tell you exactly what the deal with this audition is. She is a fodder contestant, but something interesting happened in her audition that makes it an audition moment. Like, she's not a contestant to be taken seriously. She just had a moment that is an interesting audition round moment. You know, you kind of get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I forget what the judge shenanigans were. I wrote down judge shenanigans.
They were dancing. She was teaching them how to do some dance moves.
Especially that explains it. There we go.
So yeah, I feel she's just another fodder contestant who just had something memorable happen in her audition, which they thought would make for good TV. But I don't see her sticking around at all.
Neither do I.
So regardless of our opinions, she actually gets 3 yeses. She is going to Hollywood.
Yep.
Which leads us into our next contestant, Carly Moffo. She's from Williamstown, New Jersey. She sings a lot of originals this season. She's in her intro package. She says, I would definitely describe myself as a mess. And as soon as she said that, I was totally on board with her. Do you agree?
I like her as a person. For some reason, I like the way she performed the song. I don't think the song was very well written. It was very repetitive to me.
I agree. I'm not a fan of original songs in the auditions.
I am if they're done well. I just didn't think that was a great original song personally. I'm gonna go back to X Factor one more time and then I'm done. Last year's X Factor winner and runner-up both did original songs for basically the majority of their performances, and so they were really impressive with it. And their songs were really good, and this song wasn't. But anywho, her voice actually seemed a little put on to me somehow. Didn't seem like it was her. Like, hard to describe really, but I wasn't blown away by it.
I was actually listening, and I thought she totally reminded me of Florence and the Machine, which is funny because
a little bit.
Katie actually calls that out, which was a cool moment for me because I called that. They called her a lot. They were talking a lot about how she was quirky and crazy. Were you getting that vibe from her?
Not really.
Well, I mean, she was good. She definitely stood out. And this night, she was someone who I was a little bit interested in, which doesn't say much for most of the contestants. I feel like her and Michael were at this point, they were the two kind of standouts for me. Do you agree?
You see, Other than Michael, I don't remember anyone except for Michael in the last two.
Okay.
So I'm excited to get to the last two because I'm excited about both of them.
So let's just keep on moving. So we get before the episode actually start. While we're in commercial, we get a segment featuring a past American Idol contestant, Pia Toscano from season 10, who was definitely a favorite of mine during that season. Totally robbed. I remember when she was cut. That was like,
what I remember about her being cut was Brian basically begging people to keep watching the show afterwards.
I'm trying to remember who else.
That's the thing I remember. It wasn't an issue. Scotty was going to win that season, no matter how far anyone else made it.
That season was a bit of a mess. For a lot of things went wrong. That was the season of shock eliminations. We had Casey.
It was the season where third and fourth place deserved to be first and second deserved to be third and fourth. That's what I remember.
I just remember that was one of the first. That was the second season I ever watched, and it was the one I watched fully, like all the way through. And I was like, how does this happen? Because it just doesn't make sense. Because it was when I was in those naive stages of like watching these shows, and I was like, she's the best singer. How it didn't make sense to my head that she went home so early. She was next to Stefano in the bottom two, and I was like, and his face, like when she gets cut, was essentially mine.
Yeah,
it was like, wait, this can happen. But yeah. Anyway, good for her that she's getting some publicity. She's actually an incredibly talented person, so good for her.
Yeah,
definitely. And anyway, we go into our next contestant. Her name is Ayana Rose Lawson. She's 22 from Chicago, Illinois, and she sings "I Can't Make You Love Me" by Bonnie Raitt. And she's from Chicago. She has this backstory. Her family was homeless for a couple of years. What did you think about her?
Crazy thing is, she wasn't significantly worse than some of the others who actually did make it through over the past couple episodes. But having said that, she wasn't good enough to advance.
Yeah. In a nice moment, the judges are actually they let her down easily, which is always something I prefer. But I don't like these moments. I feel bad. Like I said, I always feel bad for the contestants, but she ends up getting 3 no's and she doesn't make it through. Do you have any final thoughts about her? Do you think she'll be back?
Don't know. So I'm wondering when now is the show going to be back? Is my question.
I think the show is going to be back, honestly.
I hope so.
I feel like it's going to be back.
The ratings haven't plummeted, so I'm hoping.
I feel like if they don't renew it, they've already dumped so much money into the fire. Like,
yeah.
Can you imagine how much money they paid for this show and just to let it all go?
Not a ton. They didn't pay that much.
Well, they paid Katy Perry.
Well, yes, but other than her.
Anyway, so we go on to our next singer, Samuel Swanson. He's 28 years old. He sings "Let's Stay Together" by Al Green. He's got this whole turban thing. I don't even know what it is. It like do you know what that thing he was wearing? Is it like a religious thing?
I don't. Here's the crazy thing. I wrote in my notes, I liked the performance a lot. It wasn't my favorite of the season, but it's definitely in the top 10. And a day later, I forget it. I forgot all about it. So
it's weird because for me too, he seems like he has a very distinct look, and I completely forgot about him. They were promoting him a lot on YouTube leading up to the season. He was one of the ones where there was 3 or 4 contestants, and they were showing him follow his audition.
Oh, he was one of those. Okay,
yeah. He was follow his journey on American Idol. I think it was him. It was Ron Boltanges and someone else who I don't remember. I think it was a girl. Maybe it was Layla Spring. I don't remember, but
sounds like it could be Layla.
I don't know. But he has the story. He actually grew up on a farm. He used to milk cows, but he wanted to do something different. He was into music, and he gets a lot of praise from the judges, but they also comment that he's a little bit nervous. He has some issues with breathing, and Lionel actually goes out and compares him to Luther Vandross. Did you get that comparison?
A little bit. I do remember. What I remember of the Luther Vandross thing was Jacob Lusk. Remember that name?
Yeah, of course. I have a lot of memories. We're talking a lot about season 10 this episode, I see.
And the next episode, I'll be talking more about season 10. Ready?
Okay. So,
okay. Damiano Scarfi, I think.
Oh, yeah. So before we get to him, we actually start off with a montage of no's, which is foreboding clouds for our next contestant. I'm gonna butcher this name. You said it better than I could have. You want to say?
Damiano Scarfi is what I'm
All
going to
right.
go with.
He's 19.
Damiano.
He's 19 years old, Middleton, Connecticut. He does "More Than a Feeling" by Boston. Favorite song of mine. He is a heavy metal rocker, and yeah, it's not good.
Okay, so here's my season 10 comparison. Remember when people would give James Durbin crap for being like out of tune and not technically perfect? The difference was Durbin was an amazing performer, and at his worst, he sounded good. At his best, he sounded great. This was like if James Durbin sounded awful.
I hate that it's a song I really like.
I'm sorry. We've all had our favorite songs butchered on before.
Remember when that guy a few weeks ago did Gravity? I think was it a guy or a girl, and they just ruined it?
Yeah,
that was
painful.
I think it was a girl. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, not painful. You forgot all about it.
Anyway, it's a joke audition. This is a joke auditioner. And it's
thankfully
you can tell
they get the 3 no's.
Gets the 3 no's. Katy Perry actually asked for Advil, which sums it up.
Okay.
Anyway, so moving on to our next contestant, we're going back to Savannah, and we have Journey, whose last name I've learned from looking it up is Siani, I think. She's 18 years old, Denver, Colorado. She sings "Rise Up" by Andra Day. She has this story about getting married, which is weird. She talks about getting married, but she's only 18,
that was a little weird. But she's openly gay, which is great. That we're not hiding the gay people in the closet anymore like they did back in Idol 1.0. I knew out of Vox our next contestant was coming, so I thought that Adam Sanders out of Vox would be the only like openly LGBT contestant. So I'm happy we get 2, and they're both in the last 20 minutes of this episode. I like Journey a lot. I really liked her. I think the performance was great. She needs to get a little bit better at showing personality and movement on the stage, but the voice is wonderful, and I think she has a lot of potential.
I just can't get over that she's married and she's 18.
I'm over it.
Anyway, so they really built her up. Her package is basically all about her backstory, and I don't like when they do that too much because I feel like it should just be about the singing a little bit, but they overdid the story a little bit, in my opinion. But when it comes to just her singing and just her potential on the show, I thought she was actually really good. Did you agree?
I said it already. I liked it a lot. I think she has a ton of potential if she can go far.
She is actually a returning contestant, I think. I was reading about. I think she was on season 15, but was just never shown. Don't quote me on that. This is just me guessing. But I mean, good for her. I mean,
good for her. Hopefully she goes far. Hopefully once she gets more emotive on stage, I think she's unstoppable.
So she gets 3 S's. She's one to watch. And it leads us into our last contestant, who is Adam Sanders, who is 24 years old. He appeared on American Idol 12, right? Yeah, it was 12.
The worst season.
He appeared on the worst season, and he was cut. I think they did that season really weird, where it was like.
Here's what I'm gonna say. It might not be PC. If he was out of Vox back then, he might have had a better shot because that was the girl season where they were pushing for a girl.
That's actually pretty awful. But as you said, he is appearing on the show. He is going to be as a drag queen, which is, wonderful. I think, a first in the American Idol.
Wonderful. I'm really happy.
I don't love it as much. I feel like it should just. We were talking about this beforehand in the pre-show. I'm a little conflicted because I feel like I just want it to be about the voice, which is weird because it's American Idol, not the voice.
I feel like it's a niche for her. him, her. I don't know. I'm gonna figure this out. I don't want to use the wrong pronouns or do anything like that, but I'm going with her for now.
right.
Her audition was, I think, she's probably in my top 3 for the season. Actually, I loved it. I think that she has a ton of range. When she was back to season 12, she was also really great. So
I've actually I used to do spoilers for MJ's, and he's actually auditioned, like, he only appeared on season 12, but I think he was like in every season after, like 13, 14, 15. He auditioned and was like cut before the producers. And the one season when he decides to go as a drag queen, it actually ends up working out, which is
shitty.
I mean, I feel a little bad for him because I feel like he wanted to do something different to get on the show. But that all aside, and just focusing solely on his vocals and potential in the competition, I think he's got a really incredible voice. I don't see the American public going for it that much.
I don't either, but I
feel,
really hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong.
I feel should he make it to the live rounds, I feel he's going to be in serious trouble. Through no fault of his own, but just because he doesn't fit the clean cookie cutter image of the American Idol past winners. He's skating the line of being a joke act, but he's not a joke act. And I feel like when he appears on the show and people who just tune in during the live shows see him and they see this drag queen, they're going to think.
Here's my thing. Back in season 8, Adam Lambert was almost like this. Not all the way, but almost. And so I feel like if Adam could do it, I think 8 years later, I think Adam can do it too. I hope.
Okay. So he's actually the last auditioner of the night. We get a montage closing it out with all the contestants who have made it through. And this is it. This is the end of the audition rounds. And it's been a lot. A lot has been going on. What did you think about the audition rounds?
I thought overall I'd give them a B-, but there are a couple of contestants I'm excited about.
I would honestly go with a C+ personally, just because I feel like they
being harsher on this than I am.
What?
Look at you being harder on it than I am.
I feel like I'm always a little bit more critical because I expect so much from the show because I've watched it for so many seasons and I've been such a fan. But I feel like there's a Disney effect on this season that really stuck out to me. Like, there's no really, well, I mean, there's Adam Sanders, and I just feel like there's not that many like out there. The overwhelming majority contestants are like very, with some exceptions, are very cookie cutter. Like, I'm thinking of the words.
I'd say a lot of the girls have a ton of personality, and I think that for quite a few contestants that I'm genuinely excited about. So I'm excited to see this.
I feel like there's a lot of typecasting going on, but
yeah.
I mean,
what are you going to do?
But focusing just on this episode, as we do with every episode, we're going to go through our 3 favorite contestants. So I'm going to throw it to you. Who are your 3 favorite contestants of this episode?
Well, this is the first one that's genuinely easy. Ada, Journey, Michael J. Woodward.
I'm just going through the contestants. I am going to agree. Totally. I'm going to go Adam Sanders or Adam Vox, Journey, and Michael J. Woodward. I feel like of these 3, Michael has the best potential to go far.
I disagree. I think Journey has potential to go further.
We'll see. Journey is kind of a question mark. I'm not quite sure.
I'll eat my words on that, I'm sure, but we'll find out.
I feel like Adam Sanders could do very well on the Idol stage, like with the big, like the audition rounds are very small. And I feel once you go to the very big stages, it could get it starts to be a lot. And I feel like Michael and Adam will probably do better. I don't know if Journey will, but that remains to be seen. I'm excited for both of them. All 3 of them.
All 3 of them. Okay.
So that's it. We are moving on. We are done with the audition rounds. We're going on to Hollywood Week. Hollywood Week is always been run the exact same way every season. We have the solo rounds, the group rounds, and the second solo rounds, which is with a full band. I actually love the Hollywood Week structure, I guess the word. Are you a fan of how they do these rounds?
I usually, honestly, Hollywood's my least favorite round. I know a lot of people it's their favorite round. It's my least favorite personally because I like seeing the contestants by themselves, and the group rounds just kind of bug me for some reason.
What is? Oh, go on. I'm sorry.
But the first solo round and the second solo round, usually sometimes I develop favorites during Hollywood rounds, but usually it's closer to top 24. So,
what is your favorite round of these of the show?
Shows. Easy.
For me, it's live shows, and I also really love the Las Vegas rounds. Do you remember them in season 11?
Like the mid rounds, like
the like top 50, and when they do the a second round of group rounds before the Green Mile.
I don't like the group rounds. So
what?
I don't like group performances, but
I just remember to season 11. That was season 11 is my personal favorite of season of the show, and I just remember that block of Las Vegas rounds where they were doing like really old songs. It was actually my favorite, like, of these rounds of all the seasons that I've seen.
Okay.
But anyway, we're going on to Hollywood Week. All the contestants, they're all coming to Hollywood. I think there was a total of 169 contestants going to Hollywood, which seems really low to me. Do you agree?
It seems a little high to me after seeing how some of the people who got through, but
so
okay.
Anyway, so how the solo rounds work is the contestants are divided into groups of 10. They come on, they sing. The judges, aka the producers, separate
step forward, step back,
step back, and then it's all about the delivery of the judges. Where they're like, back row, I have some bad news. You're going to have to stick around, and it's always,
it's always that bullshit thing.
All right,
honestly. Okay, I'm not gonna bring up next time again. Move on.
These rounds are very, it's very choppy and it's very hard to keep track of everything that's going on. So forgive us if we kind of brush over some details, if we don't touch on every single contestant, because we just went through 5 rounds of auditions and they are going to try and shove as many as they can into this episode. So just keep that in mind when we are going through this. So anyway, the first group of 10, first singer that's highlighted is Layla Spring. She is the country girl. She has the Southern accent. She actually auditioned with her little sister Dixie. Do you remember her? She auditioned and they both...
I remember her being less good than this performance was. I actually like this performance a lot better than the first one, I think.
Yeah, she sings Last Kiss, which is by, I think it's by Pearl Jam? Pearl Jam, yeah. The notes I have is she looks absolutely tiny on stage, and she's like, I think she's really young, if I remember right.
15 or 16.
Yeah, she looks like tiny. But as for her singing, I mean, we only get like maybe 20 seconds of it, and I thought she was good. Like, she definitely did enough to move on. Do you agree?
You don't think it was good enough to move on?
I can be sometimes a little generous, so I would say yes.
I'd say it was good enough to move on.
Yeah. Anyway, so that leads us into our next contestant, Alyssa Ragu. She sings Wind Beneath My Wings by Beth Midler. She's only 15. I totally remember her from her auditions. She was she was the Disney girl. She was kind of packaged.
She was the one who everyone was hyped over.
Yeah.
I wasn't blown away by this performance.
She was getting a lot of attention on YouTube. I think her video got she got a ton of video of views, and I mean, for my notes, I just have it was okay, like not good, not bad.
More mediocre than I remember her being. I wasn't blown away.
I wasn't blown away, but keeping in mind how she did with her auditions, I would probably still send her.
She can go through.
She could go through. So I would send through both of them so far. Would you agree, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we move on to the third person in this group. It's Trevor McBain. He does Washed by the Water by Need to Breathe. He was the goat farmer. This was probably the first contestant that I would probably have cut, honestly. Do you agree?
Really, genuinely, for a country singer, I liked it a lot. For a country singer, it's a qualification.
I really liked the
it.
song. I wasn't really blown away by his singing,
Neither
honestly.
was I, but I'm on a good job with country music, clearly.
Would you send him through?
I wouldn't send any of the country singers through. If it was
Any?
I don't like country music, personally. So it's a subjective thing.
Okay. Anyway, so we actually get 4 contestants in this group of 10, which is weird because I don't think we get 4 like at all for the rest of this episode. We get Caleb Lee Hutchinson.
Mm-hmm.
He sings Don't Close Your Eyes by Keith Whitley. And this, I'm going to say this, I feel like this is going to be our token country guy this season.
Totally. Not my thing at all. He's Scotty 2.0.
And not only that, but I feel like should he make it to the live rounds, he could be a threat, honestly.
I worry about that. I'm really worried about that because if he wins, I'll be sad. He
fits the cookie cutter, good Southern boy. I mean, he checks off the block of the fan base of the people who are going to root for him. I, in the past, always underestimate the country voters, and I feel like
I'm worried. So I've been worried that a country singer was going to win the season for a while. So I'm hoping I'm wrong.
Well, anyway, he does a good enough job, and he is the last one in this group of 10 that is highlighted, which basically means that all the other 6 are basically
at best fodder.
At best fodder. And it turns out every single one of these contestants are moving on, which, I mean, I get. Good for them.
Good for them.
So now we move on to our next group. Just again, there's a lot of contestants. We got to go through them.
I'm only going for the ones that are featured on YouTube.
So the next one is Noah Davis, who does Mama Knows Best by Jessie J. He was this person in the audition rounds who kept saying the word wig, which I genuinely
Katy Perry on him.
Katy Perry seems to love him.
More alpaca talk. It's getting a little annoying to me, honestly, at this point.
I remember in the audition rounds, you were very high on him. Are you still very high on him?
Not as high. I like his voice. The song choice wasn't right, I don't think. The song is not meant to be done a cappella.
Going back to Idol history, Serena Joy Crow and Angie Miller, when they did these songs, like, it's one of those songs.
Thinking back to other people who have nailed this song. Like, this is a song where you're supposed to slay it, and he just did it like, okay.
There was the girl on the X Factor. I don't remember her name.
Santiago.
She did it really good.
She was the one I was thinking of about it.
Well, I feel like if you're going to go for, I mean, I say this and I don't really know if it's like relevant, but I feel like if you're going to go for a song that's been so well covered, you kind of got to do something a little different. But anyway, I think it was good enough. I'm not a fan of his, but he definitely like deserved to move on. And that leads us into the next group of contestants in this batch, which are the Sposato brothers. We have Milo and Julian. They are twins. They auditioned when they did it. They had a full like band with them. They brought
I remember
trumpets. Their father, I think, was playing guitar. They like did a whole thing. I have on my notes, I'd cut both of them. Milo does Jealous by Labyrinth. Julian does Love's in Need, I think is what it's called. I don't know. They were both lukewarm, like not even
100% agree.
But regardless, Milo makes it through, which, this was the point they were here. They were here for this line where they are going to separate them, and one of them is going to make it through and one's not. So, I mean, good for Milo. I don't see him going much further. But
I'm amazed he made it for the episode.
Me too. Okay. Anyway, so it leads us into our contestants that are cut. We got a quick cut montage. The people cut so far are Kennedy Rittenberry. Do you remember her? I don't
remember any of them.
Kennedy Rittenhouse is her name. Joshua Ward and Kristen Harris. Kristen Harris I remember because she was she did I Want to Be a Cowgirl Sweetheart with the guitar. And I just remember saying there's no way she's going to make it through. And, of course, they're eliminated, and there's a lot of crying because that's how Hollywood
Idol. And there's crying on Idol.
There's a lot of crying on American Idol. Anything you want to say about these three? Do you remember?
Nope. I'm
Anyway,
at the point where I just, want to get through these contestants.
We move on to our next batch of contestants who, for me, I'm going to say this next segment was honestly a favorite part of it for me. We get a segment where it's Katie Turner and Zach D'Onofrio. Zach D'Onofrio was the croner. He did kind of Elvis songs. It was like a very it wasn't Elvis. It was Frank Sinatra. He was very like a smooth singer, even though he doesn't look the bill.
And doesn't have a personality to see the songs ever. But.
I just want to say, Katie Turner absolutely stole this entire segment. She's just so different. She said in her package, she says, "I give good hugs and I'm nice," and she's like just the right amount of crazy for this show. Like,
I wouldn't say crazy. I'd say extremely likable. I love her.
Her singing, it's good. Her singing isn't amazing, but her personality
singing is enough to get her through.
Her personality just it's so good, which is weird because I'm always about the singing, but like with her, I just like I was smiling this entire like segment.
I was too.
Because she's just so she seems so genuine, and it's something that like we don't get many times on American Idol for a show that's so dedicated.
Was the last one we had like her.
The show is like it's just so dedicated to like painting contestants as the Elvis impersonator, the this, the that, and she's just her, and it's so refreshing. And
remember Joey Cook?
Of course, I remember Joey Cook.
Very similar, personality-wise.
I feel like Katie's a little bit more eccentric.
A little bit, but it's the same general type thing.
Well, anyway, she was the star, which is bad news for Zach D'Onofrio, even though they were kind of presenting this as they were really good friends. And Zach performs Cry Me a River. Katie does my favorite Beatles song of all time, Come Together. And you know where this is going. Katie is definitely more of a star than Zach, and Katie indeed is the one going through.
Yep.
Which is I felt bad for him because in the confessionals he's like crying. He knew. I feel like while I was watching this, I was like, he knew that it wasn't the best, which I felt a little bad for him. But I feel like he's a contestant we'll see again. Granted, I don't think he's the best singer, so if he does come back, I don't see him. The fact that he made it to Hollywood in itself is a little impressive to me. I don't know if he'll be able to do it twice, but
he won't.
I'll always say go for it. I'm always a fan to see. I love when these contestants decide to come back and try again. So yeah, we get Katie in, Zach out. So our next segment, we get two contestants. We get Maddie Pope. She does Dreams by Brandi Carlile, and she was a favorite of mine in the audition rounds. I was a huge fan of hers. They kind of show her really quickly. They don't give her that much screen time, but I thought she did a really good job for the 20 seconds that we've seen of her. What did you think?
I'm getting real Cree Harrison vibes.
Cree Harrison?
A little bit.
I don't know if I'm seeing that. Too much Big Brother. She reminds me of someone from Big Brother.
I don't like Big Brother.
Anyway, but as good as she was, the contestant who came next was actually overshadowed her a bit.
Totally.
It was Cade Foner, who's a contestant. Was this Foner? Foner? It's Foehner. So anyway, we didn't see
Foehner maybe, because like John Boehner spells his name the same way.
We didn't actually see his audition rounds, which is very weird
in my view.
But he performs "The Thrill Is Gone" by B.B. King, and in his intro, which is rare, we don't get that many intros in Hollywood Week. He talks about how he used to work with horses until he broke his legs, just one leg. His voice, it's actually pretty good. I wasn't sure if he was like, because his package was all about him being like a country boy, and then he comes out and he starts singing rock, which is exciting for me. I like that. He's different.
I liked him a lot. I love the growl. I love the demeanor. I love the guitar playing. I think he's one to watch. I hope he is. I'm actually mad we never saw his audition.
I agree. But anyway, they're both through, and I think they're both people to watch this season.
Yep.
It brings us into our next contestant. I think it's just him who's shown. We got Johnny Brent. He's doing Somebody Else by 1975. He performs on the piano, which is I like when contestants he did in his auditions, he did on guitar, and in this round he did the piano. He had this story where he didn't tell his parents that he was auditioning, and he just kind of surprised them with the news. But I'm gonna say again, I think this guy might be a threat to win, because
I hope not. I really hope not. I didn't love it.
He reminds me of. Do you remember a few seasons back there was Spencer Lloyd? I think was his name.
Oh God!
Season 13, he was cut like.
Yeah, I remember him. He sucked.
20.
And Johnny.
Oh, go on.
I didn't like Johnny. I liked it. I wasn't blown away by it. The piano was nice, but his voice is so much weaker than most of the other guys that I couldn't get into it.
I have in my notes he's either gonna be cut like if he advances, I feel like he's gonna be cut like top 24, and either he will be cut at top 24 or he'll make like a Daniel CV run and make it all the way through.
Daniel CV only got to top 9.
That's still pretty far for someone who.
That's acceptable. I just hope he doesn't make past top
9. But yeah, I feel like he's someone a lot of people could get behind. So yeah, he advances, and the show didn't mention this, but I saw it during when he gets through. They actually show Effie Passero getting through, which is cool for me. I mean, I was a fan of hers, right?
Okay.
All right, moving on. We get group number 6. We get 2 contestants in this batch. We get Journey and Dennis Lorenzo. Journey does You Don't Do It For Me Anymore by Demi Lovato, and Dennis Lorenzo is Thinking Out Loud. Just on the singing, I'm going to say Dennis was much better here. Dennis honestly was, I wrote down fantastic. He has the story, he just got married. I was really into Dennis in this round. Do you agree?
I like him a lot. I like his audition a lot. I like this a lot. Having seen the rest of the contestants, for at least 4, I like better than him even.
I agree. I feel like he's really good, but he's also just below. He's like on the verge of breaking into like the top tier. Like I feel on my list, he's probably 5 or 6 on my list of like
probably
the contestants.
5 on my list.
Yeah, I feel like he could break through. I feel like I don't know if he. We'll see. What do you think about Journey? We saw her very
much. I did like Journey a lot.
We barely saw her.
Yeah, but I did like what I saw again.
There wasn't enough to really formulate a full opinion, but regardless, they are both going through, so good for them. I think Dennis was the standout here, though.
Okay.
I'll
disagree, but
we go to group 7. It's 1 contestant. It's Trevor Holmes. He was the creepy dude in the audition round who was kind of flirting with Katy Perry, even though he has a girlfriend. He sings Vance Joy's Riptide, which is another song I really enjoy. And before he sings, his girlfriend yells out, "Katie, I'm watching you," which is...
You know what? Trevor gave a C- performance at best, but the girlfriend in the audience cracked me up, so I'm glad they showed it.
I mean, I feel like the girlfriend and his story with Katy Perry is his act on the show.
Totally.
I feel like his singing is not the best.
It's a C- at best.
Yeah. I mean, Anyway, our opinions out of the way. He is going through the group rounds. And next up is a segment that actually really surprised me. We get David Francisco. He was the person who I think he was hit by a car, and he was paralyzed, but he has since been able to walk. And he has this moment when he walks on stage and he throws his crutches and he grabs the mic and he performs Sunday Morning by Maroon 5. What do you think?
Glad he's continuing to recover. It was a C+ vocal at best.
I'm surprised because they were really promoting his story as like he got the pimp spot in one of the audition rounds, and to have him just unceremoniously cut, like I kind of expected him to last a little longer, but just because of the story, I mean, he gets cut. I
I'm not surprised.
Just on his vocals, I get it, but the story was like such a big part of him. And just as an aside note, this has little to do with the auditions, but in his batch of contestants who are cut, one of the contestants is actually Ashley Lusk. Do you know who Ashley Lusk is?
Is she Jason Lusk's sister?
No, she's a returning contestant who I remember hearing about. She's been on like 3 seasons in a row and like is always cut in like the early rounds of Hollywood Week. And I always feel bad for her because she's a really good singer and she's just unceremoniously cut and never showed on the show. She's just something I just always feel bad about. But like I saw her because I follow her on Twitter and I kind of like her music. She's actually pretty talented and she's just unceremoniously cut like 3rd time in a row. And just this poor girl, like it's like Adam Sanders where like they just keep coming back only to be told no.
Okay.
Anyway, we get before we get to that, we get a cut montage about some other contestants. I didn't catch their names. There was only one that stood out was Daniel Etheridge. I just remember him because I think we talked about him recently, but he's cut. He was on like, I don't remember. Anyway, so before we get to that, we get some final contestants who are through. We get Ada Vox, Mara Justine, Lane Hardy, Garrett. I didn't write his last name. What was Garrett's last name? I think it was Jacobs, right?
Yes.
We got Garrett, Marcio, and Maddie Zahn. Are there any of these contestants that you wish we would have seen their performance?
Nope. I mean, actually, no, Mara. Definitely Mara. I want to see Mara.
I do want to see Mara too. I feel like she is a sleeper contestant on the show.
I don't think she's a sleeper. I think she's my personal favorite right now. So.
She's number 1 on you? For you?
She's my number 1 right now, based on her audition.
We also don't see Ricky Manning, who was a contestant, a favorite of mine during the auditions, but he did advance to the group rounds, which brings us to the group rounds. They totally revamped the group rounds kind of in the style of presentation for this episode. In the past, the group rounds are done where they have this whole the show is usually structured in a way where it's like it's 1 hour
for rehearsals and then all of the performances.
They usually do it where it's like the 2-hour episode is like the solo rounds, and then the last hour is just like the drama of group rounds, which is honestly like one of my favorite parts of the season, like the shuffle of everyone like getting on stage, like trying to find a group. Do you remember like when they used to do that? I don't remember if they did it that much in 15, but like I actually really loved it. Okay. But
you watch Big Brother, it's that type of thing.
I did watch Big Brother, and it is that type of thing that I love. But anyway, so something that really stood out to me with this this new format is they cut out all the drama, and for me, I feel like it's part of the Disney effect. Again, there's the Disney effect. They want the contestants to be shown in very
Disney effect.
Do you think that's a thing for the season? Do you agree with me that they are kind of
to an extent? I'd say not as much as you think it is, but I definitely noticed that. I actually prefer that they cut all of the BS on the group rounds.
I feel like when I was watching this, I kind of felt like the producers found these rounds boring and they were kind of trying to get through them really quickly. And that's why we kind of like, usually there's another hour of Hollywood Week like in this part, and they just kind of did it away with it.
I'm glad they got rid of that personally.
Well, anyway, like I said, I feel like they're trying to get a clean image, which, you know, they kind of want the contestants to be shown very positively, which I get, but I love when the show has a villain. Like, remember, there's usually sometimes a villain who makes like the top 24, and I feel like we just miss all that. Or maybe the season just was everyone got along well, so who knows? Maybe everyone was just very happy. Anyway, let's get to the actual contestants. So our first group of the night is God's Diversity, and they are performing Rather Be. The group is by the way, just as a preface to these group rounds, not all the contestants in a group are shown, so we're going to try and focus on what the show focused on. So if there's a name or two that we don't touch on, it's just because the show didn't really give us that time to get the name. But anyway, we got Michael J. Woodward, Thaddeus Johnson, Shannon O'Hare, Courtney Smith, and I wrote down poor blonde girl who's never mentioned during this entire thing. each contestant kind of gets a chance to stand up and sing, except for this poor girl, which I feel so bad for these people. Like this girl went through so much the entire audition process to just not get shown. But
Okay.
anyway, what did you think of this performance?
Michael J. Woodward's choices with his vocals bugged me. Thaddeus was better. Shannon sounded shouty, and then Courtney was the clear standout.
Yeah, I wrote down for the standout of this group, I wrote down Courtney, which she was really good. Like I was,
Yeah, she was impressive.
I don't think we've seen her at all during this season, but I was like, where did you come from? You're really good. I wrote down from Michael J. Woodward, not a fan, but which is sad because I really liked his audition.
Yep.
Thaddeus Johnson was good. Shannon O'Hare, I wrote down Shouty McShouterson.
We wrote the same things.
Yeah.
100%. Yay.
And in the end, they get a standing ovation. I think, did they get a standing ovation? I don't remember. But
they get it for Courtney, and the others were just happened to be there.
They actually have this cool breakdown part at the end of the performance, which I thought really, really sold it for me. And which is weird because they were kind of like effusively praising them, and then they cut random blonde girl.
Cut unnamed blonde girl.
I wrote poor blonde girl, random blonde girl. Like this poor.
Okay.
I don't know. But anyway, before we move on to the next group, there's something I wanted to bring up. There's someone who has been with the show for as long as I remember. It's music director Michael Orland, who is someone who I feel is like a part of the Idol show. And I just want to shout him out because it's so cool to see him on, because for me, it just, him being there makes it American Idol during these group rounds. And I just want to say, it's cool to see him. Do you remember him? Do you know who he is?
Yeah, I vaguely remember him.
I just feel it's really cool to
I'm glad whenever I bring some of the producers and cast back, I'm happy. So yeah.
In his segment, we get a segment of him like talking with the contestants really quickly, calling a bunch of them disasters. There's like a small snippet, like a 2-second shot of Taylor John Williams from The Voice, who was like in the top 8, which is, he's just there and never like mentioned. And I was like, wait a minute, that's the guy from The Voice. And just no mention of him, which you know what that means. But anyway, it moves on to our next contestants. It's they're called the Group.
The Group.
Which, I mean, what'd you think about them?
I think all these group names were terrible, first of all.
What would your group name be?
Don't put me on the spot like that. I don't know. I'll tell you, it wouldn't be God's Diversity or the Group.
The Group.
It's the Group.
Anyway, it's got Maddie Zom, Marcio Donaldson. Is it Marcio or Marcio? I think it's Marcio. I'm just gonna call him Marcio. Marcio Donaldson, Samuel James, I think was his name, and this girl whose name was just Celsi. I didn't catch her last name. I don't know if they showed it. They are doing Staying Alive by the Bee Gees, which is just such an awkward song to have on this group rounds. Like, I don't know. Anyway, I feel like there was a lot of drama behind the scenes about this group.
It was a disaster.
It was kind of a disaster. There was a lot of lyrics being forgotten, but only one of them gets cut, and it's only Samuel.
I think they all should have gone home after it, honestly.
Every single one?
I think that was such a colossal mess that I don't think all of them deserve to go.
I have on my notes, Maddie Zom, Forget Words.
Maddie Zom, I liked her audition, but she wasn't good here.
Do you think Forgetting Words should be an instant elimination on this show? What do you think? What is your take on this?
I feel like if you forget all the words, yes. And if you don't recover from it, yes.
What if you just, let's say I'm singing this song and I forget the words and I just say da, 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 and like kind of make them into musical notes? Do you think that's good enough?
If you're willing to improvise, I think it's okay. But if you're really standing your deer in the headlights, I think it should go.
Anyway, so yeah, Samuel's cut. Barely knew ya. I don't think we saw anything of his, which brings us into the next group, which is Taco. They're called the Taco Group, which I thought was like an acronym of their names, but it doesn't make sense. It's got Katie Turner, which is Favorite
She
of
was
mine.
great.
Kaya Robinson, Alyssa Ragu, and Victoria McQueen, I think was her name, right?
Okay. So Katie was great. Alyssa's choices with the song bugged me, and the other two I don't know anything about.
I wrote Katie Turner, definite standout. She does a beatboxing segment, which I loved.
She keeps surprising me. I like her a lot.
I think she's competing for my top spot. Like, there's two other contestants that I think are like,
I wouldn't go that far yet. I think Mara is so far and beyond the most talented one so far. But Katie is competing for number 3 or 4.
Yeah. Well,
in my view.
Anyway, so they all perform. Only one person is cut, Kaya, which I actually wrote down. She's probably going to get cut because we've never seen her before, which is, never a good sign. Something that just a random tangent that I want to bring up is something that stood out is every group was getting at least one person cut. Did you notice that? Like almost every group, like in America, in seasons past, in the olden days, like
you all get to go through.
You all get to go through, and that rarely happened. I think it only happened for like 1 or 2 groups, and that was it, which, I mean, is really bizarre. But anyway, I actually thought this group was another of the standouts of the night, which is unfortunate because it leads us into like a down moment of the episode where we get the duds. 3 people are cut. We lose Johnny White, Risa Watson, and Samuel Swanson. Samuel was the guy with the turban. What do you think about these cuts? Moving on. We move on to our next group, who I think have the most, I don't know what to call it. Their name is called Super Dope Hotness.
Super Dope Hotness.
Super Dope Hotness.
You know what? Kudos for picking one of the worst names you could think of, and still not being the worst name of the episode.
This was the real train wreck of the episode because they have Stage Mom and Milo's mom, who's kind of pushing him to do something different with the performance. And actually, I mean, they did a great performance. Just to go over the names in their group, there's Aname Rose, Deontay Baker. What was it?
Deonote?
What did I say?
Deontay. Okay. I don't know.
Deontay. Whatever. Dennis Lorenzo, William Casanova, and Milo Sposato, who is the other twin. His brother was cut early in the show. They do a performance of Love Yourself by Justin Bieber, which is this song was done a lot, like going into the rest of the show. Like I was noticing a lot of groups were doing it.
Okay.
It was clearly a popular choice. But anyway, the stage mom was kind of saying that Milo should do something different. He makes like some last minute changes. There's this whole dramatic movement, but it ends up everything works out well. I feel like this performance is pretty good.
Here's my thing. Dennis was great. Deonote, whoever he was great.
Deontay.
I think Milo sucked, honestly. I think that he cracked.
He's bringing the drama. We got to keep the stage mom.
I don't think he deserves to go through, personally. I feel like the drama plus the fact that he's not even that special should have gone. Whatever. He'll be cut next round.
Probably. He gets this like big solo in the performance.
And it wasn't good. Dennis was better. Deonote was better.
I felt like it was awkward because every other contestant was doing something, and it clearly looked like they were trying to give him the moment, and I felt like that wasn't really fair. But
I don't think not only was it not fair, he didn't take advantage of it.
Yep. Anyway, so regardless, they all end up getting through, which brings us to our next group. We get a montage of the contestants that go through. We get a group. It's I didn't catch all their names. The group was DNA. It's the only 2 people that were focused on were Ada Vox and KK Alexis. Ada Vox does some beatboxing, which was actually really cool. I really like that. I was totally a fan of it. KK Alexis does. I'm trying to think what she does. Anyway, I don't remember, but they do this really dramatic thing where they call everyone up except for Ada, and they say, no, wait, that was someone else. They do this like dramatic where they try and scare count, where they do like the back and front. But anyway, they all get through, and yeah, there's not that much really to say on this. It was kind of a quick segment.
Yeah.
Yep. Which brings us into the next group.
Fours.
Wait, was there anything before? There was some other groups, people who made it through. Gabby Barrett makes it through, and Journey and Dominique and Simotheus all make it through. We don't really see them. We get there's 2 seconds of each contestant. So anyway, it leads us into the second to last group, I think, of the night. It's Soul Fours. It's Lane Hardy, Caitlin Runnels, Mia DeSaris, and Juliana Madrid. And another group where they're doing Love Yourself. What'd you think?
Lane should have gone home right after this.
Really?
I think.
I feel like Lane is he's another favorite, I feel, of many people watching the show. I feel like
the other three were good, and he would just it wasn't his fault. The song choice wasn't good for him, but the attitude that he showed, him not being happy about it and stuff, I think he should have gone home.
I feel like I'm just looking at my notes. I feel like if this was a normal season, they actually all probably would have gone home.
Yeah, I would agree.
Michael Orland actually says in the package, get this kid a plane ticket because, that's it's not good. But anyway, not that much to say about this performance. Lane and Caitlin advance. Caitlin, I wrote down, I really liked her. She came out of nowhere, which is probably really bad for her future placing. But I wrote that I thought she was pretty good. Okay. Anyway, so Lane and Caitlin are through. Me and Juliana are eliminated, which brings us to our last group of the night, which is Don't Touch. It's
the only group name that isn't absolutely horrendous.
Yep. Anyway, the contestants have the Don't Touch is Brittany Holmes, Lee Vossi, Gabby Jones, and Crystal Alicia. Insanely, Brittany Holmes was cut during the audition rounds, and the show just never mentioned that she won a second chance on the show because she appeared on this Dancing with the Stars
AMA contest thing.
Yeah. They never mention it. So I just want to say, for people who were watching it beforehand,
it's a little jarring.
It's because she's cut, and all of a sudden she's here again. But anyway, they're doing Me and My Broken Heart by Rixton. And emotions are riding high for this group. And I have in my notes, someone's probably going to cry. So we have Crystal Alicia. She says she was just a karaoke singer. She's never really done this kind of big stage performance. She has really red hair. And unlike the roots, you could see just something I just noticed, her roots are showing and they look a little bit weird. But yeah, so they do this whole performance. What'd you think about it?
I like that they actually tried to harmonize, and it worked for the most part. I liked it a lot.
I don't think the standout of the performance was the performance. It was Katy Perry does this really awful thing that I don't know if I loved it or hated. I'm leaning more towards the hate, where she says, we actually only have room for 3 people to advance, which is something I've never heard of. Do they usually have a cap on the contestants that can make it through? It was a prank. So they say, I need a volunteer for someone who's willing to go home. And
I think it's unbelievably shitty, but drama.
I was just, because imagine if that was I'm never going to appear on the show because I can't sing to save my life. But if I was on the show and I was in a group and they asked me that, what are you supposed to say?
You're supposed to say, not it.
Because I would also feel bad, but then I would the survival instincts would kick in, and I'd be I would push someone through, except totally not this one.
I wouldn't say yes, you deserve to go. I would say we all deserve to go through if we're all good and make room.
So anyway, that's in the end they do this whole fake out, and it turns out every single one of them is going through, which was a big sigh of relief when it happened, because it was just this, oh my God, they're going to actually do this, but they don't actually do it. So it was there's a double bait and switches. The twist is there is no twist. Yeah. And that actually closes out our episode. before we get into the spoiler talk, we get a segment about next week's audition, next week's round. We have Sunday and Monday. There's going to be Sunday is going to be the solos with the band where they get to do a full performance, which is a favorite round of mine. And it goes into the Green Mile, which is where they cut it down. They do the dramatic reveals. And the thing that I kept going through my mind is that there were so many spoilers in this segment. Like in the commercial, like you see people walking to the Green Mile. So you obviously know they're going to make it like to that round, which means when they do the solo cut, anyone in the room with them is also going through. And it was just like, like you're spoiling it.
They can't help it. They can't help it. They can't edit around that.
Anyway, so that's actually the episode, and we're going to be going into spoilers, but before we do, I just want to say, for those who are going to be leaving us at this point, my name is Adam Samuel. You could follow me on Twitter at Adam Soapbox. I also run 2 blogs. I have adamsoapbox.blog, where I share personal stories and short creative writing, and I have adamstvblog.wordpress.com, where I cover TV shows and I share my thoughts on American Idol. I post the podcast there. So yeah, that's all my information. Eric, you want to share yours?
Follow me on Twitter at Eric_Ascher. My website is thoughts.ericascher.com. And you can just find me at my YouTube page, all my other stuff from there. On my blog, I'll be posting all the notes that I took to prepare for this episode. Lightly edited to make the grammar a little bit better, but not heavily edited. And I'll also be linking to the video. But obviously, if you want to see the new episodes, subscribe to Adam's YouTube channel so you can see episodes as they are. So,
all right. So this is your spoiler warning. If you don't want to know what's going to go on with the contestants moving forward,
God damn it! I didn't make my sign.
What?
God damn it! I didn't make my sign.
Anyway. So we get some more performances from the contestants that are inevitably going to be our top 24 and the top 14. So let's just focus on the top 24 first. Now that we've seen more of them, who surprised you the most that was cut and didn't make the top 24?
Honestly, I didn't pay attention to that too much. I will say I don't even know who made the top 20, but I only paid attention to the top 14.
All right, so let's forget it and move on to like the top 14. Who surprised you that didn't make the top 14?
Let's see who surprised me that didn't make it.
While you do that, I just want to go over the
Note. I think was a little surprising to me because he was good.
Who?
Note from Super Dope Hotness group. I liked.
I don't think he even made it to the top 24.
Probably not.
I'm looking.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by that.
He didn't even make top 40, top 50. So he was cut in the solo rounds.
I'm a little surprised that Noah didn't make it to the top 14.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I wasn't.
I'm not terribly surprised, but I'm not, a little surprised.
So just for the people who aren't aware, I'm going to go over the top 14 really quickly. We have Adam Sanders, also known as Ada Vox, which is awesome. Huge fan of his/her. We get Cade Foner, who we didn't see his audition, but we got a bit of him in the solo round. So I was digging this. I'm
thinking he can go far.
I'm thinking he could go far. I think he could. I don't see him winning, but I see him doing something. I feel like he could give us some memorable performances. Next up is Caleb Hutchinson. And like I said, he's the country boy. He's going to be our token country boy this season. And if the country voters show up, he could go deep. Do you agree?
Hope not.
Anyway, so then next is Katie Turner, who is I'm a huge fan of hers. I love her Twitter. She's ridiculous on it as she is on the show. And I'm hoping for the best for her. She is one of my favorite.
Mine too.
Next is Dennis Lorenzo, who I thought was pretty good this episode.
He's growing on me. I like his first audition. I think he's got potential. He hasn't let me down yet.
Yeah, I can get behind him. He's pretty good. Next is Gabby Barrett, who I feel people are like so hyped about this contestant, and I'm just not seeing it.
Never
Like
mind. I don't get it.
I know what she. Do you remember American Idol 14? Like, I'm not sure if she's Jax or she's Lovey James, like the contestant who gets cut in the top. Well, she made the top 14, but I feel like if she's going to be cut right away, like, I'm just not sure if she's like someone destined to go far or someone who's just going to be cut like really early.
She's going to be cut between top 14 and top 10.
You think?
I hope, because she's not that great.
Okay. Next, we have Garrett Jacobs, who we didn't see at all this entire episode. I mean, he was seen like in the background, just kind of standing there, but we really didn't see him that much. Do you have any thoughts on him?
Nope.
Next is Johnny Brenz, who is Johnny Brenz is like the youngest. Is he? I think he might be one of the youngest like white guy with guitars. So his role typecast, I think is the word, or role archetype.
I hope he gets caught between top 14 and top 10.
I feel like the winner of this season is probably going to be either Johnny, Caleb, or just like running off the trends of past seasons. I feel like it's going to be Cade, Caleb, Garrett, or Johnny. I feel are going to be the winners. One of them is going to be the winner. Do you agree?
If it's one of the four, I hope it's Cade, but I actually hope it's a girl who wins.
All right, so continuing on,
some of the trends this season.
We have Journey Siani, who, good for her. She seems pretty good. I don't really have. I liked her audition, but I can't see her winning. Like,
I can't
she's
see her winning,
good, but
I think she's great, and I think she could go far.
She's very mid pack. She's very mid pack for me. I see her like top 5 being like a best case scenario for her, which is a little sad.
At least. Okay,
we'll see. Next is Maddie Pope, who I'm huge fan of hers. I feel like there's a chance she could become a dark horse later in the competition. We'll have to see. She was on The Voice, didn't turn a chair around, but she's like, for me, in my personal top 5. I don't know if she's going to deliver to that once we get to the live shows, but we'll see. Do you agree? Are you a fan of Maddie's?
I like her. Not blown away.
Anyway, next up is Mara Justine, a favorite of yours.
In the world, she'll make the finale.
Really? I was really like low on her when she was on America's Got Talent.
So
and now it's like
I didn't like her on America's Got Talent at all. Her audition this season was my favorite by a mile.
It's just so insane. Like,
I know. I'm really happy she's good because I don't like hating on people. I'm really happy that she's good, and I hope she keeps it up, and I hope she goes far because she deserves to.
I like to call it like the returnee effect, because just because they're back, they're like they stick out. So just really quickly, the last 3 we have are Marcio Donaldson, Michael Woodward, and Michelle Susset. Michelle, we didn't see at all this episode, so there's not really much to go off of. Michael Woodward, we met for the first time. I thought he did really well. And Marcio Donaldson, again, I think he had some good moments in this episode. Any thoughts about these 3?
Of the 3, I don't like Michelle very much based on her first audition. Marcio, I thought was good, and Michael J. Woodward, I thought was good.
I think Michael has the best potential of these 3.
I would tend to agree.
So that's our top 14. Really quickly, before we have to go for the night, I want to ask, who is your top 5 of this top 14?
Mara, Katie, Cade, Adavox.
Come on.
Journey.
All right, I'm gonna go left a little bit. I'm gonna say Mara Justine, Maddie Pope, Ada Vox, Katie Turner, and just because thinking realistically, because I know one of them is going to be there and inevitably end up winning, I'm going to say Garrett Jacobs is probably going to be there. This is not my personal. This is who I think is going to be there.
Oh, that was
I would happily.
That was my personal list. Who I think is going to be there. It's very different. But
who do you think is going to be there?
Caleb, Cade, Garrett, Mara, Maddie.
Yeah, go Maddie. Maddie's another favorite of mine. So anyway, any final thoughts on the episode, on the show?
Not too many really. I'm excited for the season based on the top 14.
All right, so that's actually everything we have for you guys today. For those who've joined us, thank you so much. I just want to say we'll be back next week, probably Tuesday for the next episode. Any final thoughts you want to say before we log off?
Nope. See y'all Tuesday.
All right, peace out, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. Bye.